You've asked the question more than once, maybe even today. Why me? Why now? Why does it never stop? The weight you've carried has turned to silence from above. Nothing makes sense. You've done all you could believed, hoped, tried, and yet life keeps slipping through your fingers. It feels like the universe is against you, pushing you past your limits, stripping away everything, until all that's left are fragments. There comes a point when pain no longer shocks. It just wears you down. Faith becomes fragile. The idea of a greater plan feels like a cruel joke. And still, here you are listening, still searching. Maybe not from hope, but out of necessity. Maybe you've been broken too deeply to pretend anymore. But in that rawness, something real emerges. Something the universe sees, even if the world doesn't. This pain you carry, it isn't random. It isn't punishment. It isn't meaningless. What feels like endless heartbreak might actually be the foundation of your transformation. Part I, the hidden hand behind the breaking. Pain often enters without warning. Like a thief, it shows up uninvited, disorienting, merciless. What once felt clear becomes blurry. What once brought comfort now feels distant or disappears altogether. But even in the chaos, there's a quiet precision, a deeper intention invisible to the eye. Though it feels senseless, pain rarely comes without purpose. The universe doesn't waste anything. Every wound, every delay, every disappointment, they all carry meaning, even if it's slow to surface. The world tells you to avoid suffering at all costs. It worships ease, quick fixes, and instant results. But deeper truths grow in different soil. In the laws of the universe, pain isn't punishment, it's process. A fire that refines, not a blade that destroys. Those called to carry greater truth must first be emptied of what's shallow. Before a soul becomes a sanctuary, it must be stripped bare. The hand that breaks isn't reckless, it's deliberate. Transformation rarely happens in the daylight. Seeds grow in the dark. Caterpillars dissolve before they fly. Becoming often looks like falling apart. You may see only ruins, but beneath the rubble, something sacred is taking root. The breaking isn't here to reduce you, it's here to realign you. Old structures collapse to make way for something real, something strong, something true. You haven't been discarded. You've been planted, buried in a season you didn't choose, in soil you don't understand. But your roots are growing. Heartbreak becomes the compost of wisdom. Silence teaches you to listen differently. And slowly, almost invisibly, your soul begins to reshape not around what it lost, but around what it's becoming. Pain becomes the architect of depth. In suffering, the ego grows quiet, and you begin to hear something older than circumstance, something eternal. The universe doesn't rush. It doesn't care for shallow success. It carves character, not image. The more emptied you feel, the more space there is to be filled with what truly lasts. Loss may be protection. Failure might be foundation. Brokenness in the universe's hands is never the end. It's the start of revelation, not the kind you read, but the kind you feel in your bones. When all else is stripped away, when the performance ends and your hands are empty, something holy begins to form. Clarity, depth, purpose. The breaking didn't bury you, it birthed you. And the same hand that allowed the pain is preparing your rising. Part 2. Vessels of scars and carriers of light. After the fire, something shifts, not just around you, but inside. You no longer crave to be seen, validated, or understood. You carry something more powerful, evidence. Evidence that you endured, and more importantly, that you've evolved. Where the world sees worth in perfection, The universe chooses its messengers by their scars. Not the hidden ones, but the visible ones that say, "I've been through it and I'm still here." Scars speak truth in a way words cannot. In a world obsessed with performance, nothing is more magnetic than authenticity. Those who've suffered deeply and chosen healing become beacons not by force, but by presence. Their stillness has gravity. Their light doesn't glare, it guides. They don't preach. They live their truth. They shine, not to impress, but to illuminate the path. Pain transformed becomes a quiet power, not to dominate, but to steady. The mended no longer fear imperfection. They embrace it. Every step after breaking becomes part of a silent sermon, and it doesn't need applause, just honesty. The universe doesn't call the untouchable, it commissions the touched. The wounded, the ones who walk slower now but carry something sacred in their silence. Healing doesn't erase the past, it redeems it. The betrayal, the failure, the loss, they don't disappear. They become your offering. It's a paradox. The most shattered vessels carry the brightest light. Light escapes more easily through cracks than through untouched glass. And in those cracks, others see their own reflection, their own chance to heal. Pain personalizes your power. You don't offer theory. You offer testimony. You don't point to yourself. You become a mirror, a compass proof that rising is possible. The universe doesn't lift up the polished. It lifts up the surrendered, and a surrendered heart is one that survived its own collapse. That survival gives you authority not to command, but to comfort. When your scars shine not as symbols of shame, but vessels of light, something profound begins: surrender. Not driven by fear or defeat, but by revelation. You see now, gripping tighter doesn't protect you, it imprisons you. Through pain, the illusion of control dissolves. You stop fighting the universe and start flowing with it. Surrender becomes strength. Letting go is no longer weakness, it's wisdom. True surrender creates space where ego once clung, where fear once whispered. And in that space, quiet power begins to move. The universe doesn't lead through dominance, but through positioning. Not higher, but lower. Not striving, but surrendering. You no longer fight to become who you think you should be. You become who you were always meant to be. Noise fades. Peace sharpens your clarity. You stop pushing. You start flowing. You don't shine to be seen. You've become light, not by force, but by yielding. Part 3, From Ruin to Rebirth. After the breaking, a new version of you begins to rise, quietly, steadily, almost without notice. The pain that once threatened to destroy you becomes the soil of your strength. Not everything is restored to how it was, and it shouldn't be. Some pieces are missing, some remain cracked, but those cracks catch the light differently now. Your life doesn't return to its old shape. It becomes something new, not perfect, but powerful. Not polished, but profoundly real. What once looked like ruin begins to reveal divine design. The universe doesn't rewind, it rewrites, it redeems. Your scars? They're no longer flaws. They're sacred text, proof that you were struck and did not fall. Now, when people meet you, they don't just encounter a person, they encounter presence. You've been tempered by fire, but still soft enough to hold someone else through their pain. You carry a quiet strength born of ruins. Where once you reacted in fear, now you respond with wisdom. Where once you demanded answers, now you offer understanding. Your scars speak to those who haven't made it through yet, and they say, "You can. You walk taller now." Not because you're unbroken, but because you've learned how to walk with the pieces. The ruins remain, but they've been rearranged into something sacred. The universe didn't erase your story. It repurposed it. And now each step you take whispers, "The breaking didn't end me, it equipped me." You don't shine because you tried to. You shine because you survived the dark. And didn't lose your light. You carry not performance, but presence. Not answers, but empathy. Not perfection, but proof. You are no longer a victim of your story. You are its vessel. Conclusion: pain, when seen through the eyes of eternity, is not meaningless. It becomes the very process by which you are refined, humbled, and commissioned. The universe doesn't break you to destroy you, but to rebuild you into something deeper, stronger, and unshakable. So if you're hurting, doubting, or questioning your worth, remember, the darkness you're walking through now may be the exact place where your roots are taking hold. And when you rise, because you will, you'll realize the pain wasn't the end. It was the beginning of everything you were meant to become.